All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy.
All right, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. I'm Julian, he's Mark, he's Ken. Welcome to everyone who's joining us live today. Austin Newland, Tales of a Geek, Thomas Altop, The Opal Archive, CMAC, Michael Tandro, Bill Phelps, and Ronnie Parker, Space Ace in the house. You were very early, Ronnie, so I hope you're still here, not just putting a timestamp in that you're here and then leaving. So we shall see. But if not, thank you for taking the time to leave a timestamp. So we'll be going to the board today for some recent topics, because a lot of the things that happen now in KISS world comes in drips and drabs. So we'll be covering some of those topics today. Before I pimp some of the stuff I'm working on, Mark, what you got going on?
Yes. Well, thank you for bringing this up. So as you know, well, maybe you don't know, but for those of you who frequent Bandcamp, they had something called Bandcamp Fridays, and all summer they didn't do it. For some reason they stopped doing it over the summer, but now it's back, and this Friday is the Bandcamp Friday. Now, since Shadow, my dear doggy, has gone, now I find myself with some extra time, and I've been using it wisely. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that. And I went downstairs into the basement and went through some of my archives, and I stumbled across some extra copies of my albums, like some of my older records. So I decided to be a really cool guy and to put some of these back onto the Bandcamp list. So just really quickly, I'm just gonna let you know that A Brand New Day, I found 2 extra copies that are going to go for $20 each on the site. I found 2 spare copies of Man of Science, which is my 3rd album. That's on the green vinyl for $20. There's 2 copies there. There's 2 copies I found of Book 2, in the year 3073, Book 2. There's 2 copies available at $20. And I found 4 extra copies of What Lies Beyond, the record before this latest one. There's 4 copies of that for $20. And I found 2 extra test pressings of that as well, that are going for $30 even on that. So if you are interested in picking up any of those things, if you missed out on some of these records, because I know a few people have told me that they didn't get in on Brand New Day or Man of Science because they got into the band a little later and didn't get a chance. This is your chance. $20, that's like, in American dollars, that's like $5, so that's dirt cheap for you guys. So if you haven't gotten a copy of it on vinyl, now is your chance. Just go to bandcamp.projectgemini and you'll find it, no problem. And hopefully you will support the cause. Okay. And I think that's about it. Oh, and if you're a UK guy that's ordered this latest record, I have packed up everything. I was waiting on mailers and I finally got some. So they're all packed up and they're all going out tomorrow, and it'll be en route to you guys. I've been seeing that people have been posting on Facebook that they've been receiving them in Sweden and Switzerland and spots in Europe. And now finally it'll be going into the UK. So thank you for your patience.
Yeah, don't forget, I still have an extra test pressing here of one of your titles. You have to figure out, check back through my messages to you onto which one it is, so that you can add that to your list as well. So,
great.
Mail call. Who's got some KISS stuff this week? I did. I got.
Oh, look at that!
In Japan newsletter, which is always a fun read. This is expanded. Nice. I think it's expanded to 20 pages. Which is very cool. Lots of very fun stuff. I'm not going to do any spoilers or reprint this in its entirety, so you'll have to get it. Kiss in Japan, 1974-80. You can find Ellen on Facebook, and you can usually find the links in the FAQ message board. Full color, high quality Japanese ink. Smells wonderful. What else? Yeah, I got a really cool mail call yesterday, and it just gives me the opportunity to remind everyone that we're working on Ace book, the official Ace Frehley book. That's Ken Sharp and myself, and I got a 1973-74 scrapbook in yesterday, so I got to scan and hold a whole bunch of absolutely incredible ephemera dating back to the group's earliest existence, and getting to actually touch this. I've touched the August the 10th one from the Village Voice before, so that was a big deal. Here's the uncensored one, the first version, before Paul had to paint a bikini on her, and that was of course a a sketch that he'd nicked out of a Playboy magazine for the model. But just to sit there and hold that piece of history, there was, ads from the Daisy, ads from the Coventry, and to sit them hold them, because these things are going to go in with photographs and other ephemera all throughout the Ace book to support the story of his musical journey. And, I hear angelic harps when I hold this stuff. And it really is, it's an amazing thing just to get to touch history in that way. I got to do that with the Aerosmith book as well, with Andy Moyen, going around New Hampshire and actually standing on the stages and going, to the barn. And this is as much as you can do for Kiss, because the Daisy's gone, the Coventry's gone, the Diplomat is gone. You can go stand outside the rehearsal loft, and sometimes you're lucky enough to get in there, and some people have actually been up there. I haven't. I just am not so aggressive. So very cool. We are still on the search for ephemera and other rare, super high quality things that you'd be willing to share that relate to Ace. Contributions are very much welcomed. We're putting together so many things. I got to touch 1973 photographs.
Wow.
Which is just amazing. And what's even more amazing is being entrusted with that stuff. They're not going to be sold out the back door. They're going in the book, and they're getting returned to the people who, provided them to us to scan and be treated with that respect. But, to get to hold some of the photos that we've seen, it's absolutely amazing.
I got a question for you, Julian, if you don't mind.
So excuse me while I tear up. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say that I'm reading through that Ken Sharp book, that how he went back to the beginning up to Alive, that book that he did.
Nothing to Lose.
Yeah, Nothing to Lose.
And he mentioned, and there's a part in there with Eddie Sloan, I believe, where he mentions that he was there at the recording studio when they did the first record, and he took over 100 photographs, he says in there, while he was in there. Has anybody ever seen some of the other photos that haven't been printed from the studio thing? Have you seen any of them at all?
Yeah. I mean, they were scanned by someone else, and they are sold on the black market, unfortunately.
Really?
I think Kiss owns the copyright to some. We've got some that will be hopefully in the book, make the cut. He was there. He was there at the Fillmore. He took pictures at the Fillmore as well. So,
I'd love to see the studio shots.
Again, the studio shots are great. But again, this is going to be Ace-centric. So, if we've got pictures of Ovation, Breadwinners, Tellies, some of the other outboard gear that was being used during the recording, this is Ace's musical journey. So it's got to kind of connect with it. Rick Fox, another early photographer, it was, getting to see original scans of, a lot of that stuff doesn't circulate, or at least I've not seen it circulating. Now I know where the fire bell was at the Coventry, and
oh, really?
Yeah. Now I know what the carpet on the stage looks like. And while the quality isn't good enough on some of those, it lets you paint a picture of it. So, again, hardcore collectors, we need you to be willing to share some of your collections and some of the rare stuff that we don't have access to. Ace no longer has, for various reasons. That simply is the way it goes. But the stories that we've got in there, every time I look through this thing, and I'm just juggling layouts to give the graphic designer who will ultimately get the task of getting all this stuff a rough idea of everything that we hope to have included in the design. I'm just sitting there going, holy shit, this has new information that I didn't know before we started this project. All right, enough of that. We got to get into some of the other things. Ken, you bought some stuff this week. I hope you have it available to show everyone, because it was really high quality merch.
I do not.
Why not?
You do not? Oh, come on.
I'll show it.
The hat.
I'll show it next time we do. Yeah, I have it. I bought a new Kiss ball cap. It's pretty nice. I liked it. I like it. Looks pretty cool. But I'll wear it the next time we do like a Saturday show.
Okay. Well, next Saturday. Yeah, well,
And
next
we have it.
Saturday.
I think next Saturday we do it, right?
Next Saturday we are refocusing on Animalize for its
Ooh.
40th anniversary. So,
We'll do it then.
be ready to represent wearing your new hat.
I will.
I was on Amazon today. One of the topics on the FAQ was 2025 calendars. And I really miss the days when Kiss did official calendars, because they're just unofficial crap now. And they're, as Crispiness pointed out on, I posted a couple of links to calendars, they're a hodgepodge. I want thematic calendars. It's 2025. It's the 50th anniversary of Alive and Dress to Kill, which is all basically one era, coming up next year. So I really want them to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Asylum. Right, Mark?
Yes, absolutely.
Do an Asylum. An Asylum-themed calendar could be so colorful.
Yes,
awesome.
Imagine that, having it on your wall there and look fantastic. I think it'd be great. Hey, and that Asylum box set, come on, let's get that rolling.
Yeah, and you know what? They need to do an Alive calendar, or it's too late now because they would have had to have had them printed in Asia and shipped and be ready for distribution in October to make that, the sales deadlines. But it just seems to be something that's dropped from, merch markets probably the past 5 years. I can't remember the last time I got one that was Epic Rights officially badged and somewhat symmetrical in terms of the picture selection. So it's very, very disappointing. And I do still use calendars. This year, I had to. Well, I got one when I was in England in January, so I've got a Glasgow Rangers calendar on the wall of my office, which no one knows what
Actually,
on earth that is.
I was always using my Kiss FAQ calendar that Julian would always send us when we got our little CDs that he would send. Like if he sent me like a Ace one about his, he did a fantastic series on Ace, and he sent me the CD, and he sent me along with it a Kiss FAQ calendar, and I've always had that here in my studio desk here. So I use calendars too. But you're right, I've gone to many of bookstores, and back in the day they used to have Kiss calendars all the time, like November or so there'd be a calendar waiting. Now I don't see any Kiss calendars at all.
Angelo, thank you for the kind comments, and thank you for joining us, Bill. Jeffrey DeVoe as well. Titania Bell.
Yes.
Ken, did you find your hat?
Yes, I found it.
All right,
okay,
let's see
show it. Show it.
Yeah, here it is.
Look at that.
It has the old Kiss Army logo there. It's nice.
Isn't there something under the hood? Under the cap there?
So then under the hood,
look at that.
The cap, the bill, I guess you would call it. Yeah, that, and it has even Kiss inside there, and then on the back, Kiss again.
Very nice.
So, I saw that. I thought, I know I've seen it before. I think I probably saw it before, but he said I don't have a good Kiss hat. I have that 10th anniversary hat from the Creature Store.
Now, was that part of
any shows that you saw? Yes, sir.
Now, was that part of any collection in particular, like an Animalized thing, or was that just a general?
I think it was just a general one of their releases, but
nice.
They have it. If anyone's interested, it's out there. I got it off of Lids.
Oh, nice.
Site. So.
All right, well, let's get into some of the topics. Thanks, Ken, for going to get that. It's always nice to see new merch, even if I snorted it. But there we go. I do occasionally buy stuff myself. There's been a lot of stuff this week. Obviously, the Reagan biopic came out, and Gene's Stormy Weather, I managed to find a brief clip of, because I'm not going to go see that bloody movie. I lived the Reagan era. I don't really need to go watch a reimagining of it by Hollywood. But Gene did do the old, who was it, Lena Horne? Chestnut.
Horne.
Yeah.
People did
Stormy Weather, which to me was absolutely dreadful. Do I like hearing Gene do any new music? Hell yeah. Don't get me wrong. It's really cool to hear any of these guys do any new music, whether it's session work for Tommy, Eric, or Bruce. It's all good, but it was too low a key for him. And
yes,
he was just, almost going into Cookie Monster growl doing this song. And you know what, Gene? I'm sorry, but you're no Peter Criss. Peter Criss can do an old song like What a Difference a Day Makes. And no matter how much people want to bash One for All, at least it was an emotionally honest album with the sentimentality there. Ken, Stormy Weather.
Yeah, I mean, I only heard a snippet, so I hadn't heard the whole thing. I mean, you sent over that snippet, and yeah, there's nothing behind it, and it's almost too low of a key. I noticed that, like you did, right away. I said he needs to be more of in a World Without Heroes type voice, or See You Tonight, something like that. If it's the whole thing is in that lower key, it's not going to be very good. And that from that snippet, it wasn't very good. I hope the rest of the song is better than that, but I'm thinking it probably is not. We'll have to wait.
Stormy weather. Oh yeah.
Mark. Yeah.
Yeah. Too low.
I mean, I listened to it too, just that little snippet as well. I didn't obviously hear much more than that, but yeah, I agree with all the comments that are made. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a comfortable range for him, which is kind of odd, because you would think that if he wanted to be involved in and has an opportunity to get onto like a movie like this, that he would say something. This is Gene Simmons. He has no problems saying anything to people. Why would he have a problem saying, hey, listen, this is the wrong key, can you just switch it for me? That it's not as hard as you think to do something like that, but maybe he just didn't want to be a pain in the ass and just saying it the way they gave it to him, and that was it. Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be a bit husky.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point of it, but it was a husky female voice rather than I mean maybe he got his what was that god awful movie with John Stamos where he did
Never Too Young to Die.
It takes a man like me to be a woman or whatever that
a man like me to be a woman like me.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So this is right up in that echelon of material, but at least I think Rob Benjamin said it right. I'm happy that he's making music, though, even if his backbone slips a little now and again. Yeah, agreed. It's all good. Yeah, let's talk about some of the other musical appearances this week. It was Video Bob's 50th birthday. Happy birthday, Video Bob. And because he's in Vegas, and so are Bruce and Eric, and he's friends with Eric. Both of those guys showed up at his birthday party and got to play with a bar band. They did, what was it, Domino, Tears Are Falling, and was that it? Yeah. Again, echoing my sentiment of Gene and what I said earlier, it is always good to see these guys out there playing Kiss music live, but playing with rank amateurs, you have to remember that it was for someone's birthday, not for a large stage paid performance type gig. So you have to separate yourself from those expectations and just realize that this was with a friend jamming essentially for fun. And I'm not going to throw any stones at it whatsoever, having been a complete plonker on the cruise performing Rip It Out. So, and I'm not a member of KISS. Mark, as a performing musician.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, it was cool that he showed up. I remember seeing, I think it was on Facebook, that there's a picture of him, those two guys at the guy's house. They were sitting on a sofa and they were having some sort of sandwiches. I think it was a sandwiches, and they were talking about some delicatessen or something. But it's cool when that kind of thing can happen, obviously. And again, like you said, it's just a birthday party. They go there and have some fun. There's no seriousness to it. So it's just going to have that sort of playful vibe to it. I mean, look no further to the extra bonus feature on one of the Kissology discs where they show, Kiss playing at Ace's wedding, and they pull up just random instruments that were there with the wedding band. That stuff is nothing like the gear they would probably use for a real show. So, you hear them doing Rock and Roll Night, and it was, far from, live worthy of their concert, but it was just for fun. So you got to kind of take it in that context, right? So, all the power to them. And I believe me, when you have people like that are, you're big fans of, come to your birthday party and do something like that, you don't even, you probably don't care if there was an error or whatever. You're just there to have a good time, and you've probably had a blast doing it. And that's all that's important at that time.
Ken, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's cool that they, were able to do something, play some music. It's always, it's all not rehearsed kind of stuff, and just kind of having fun with it. So I'm all for that. And if they're playing Kiss music, that's the best thing. So I think it's cool that they did that.
Yeah, staying on the topic of Bruce, he's in the September 24 issue of Guitar World, and I'd just like to read this quote from that interview. In the 90s, musically speaking, we were as good as any Kisser. I've heard Gene pick on Alive 3, for example, but it's a load of shit. Oh my God, Bruce said shit. It's like, dude, give me a break. We were killing it then, and no one's going to disagree that that lineup was not killing it completely on, the South American and Japan tour. Yeah. Sorry, continuing. Here's the truth about the 80s and 90s. We could play the old shit, and we played the new shit right. I'm not saying we had the magic of the original band, but don't put that era down because you're trying to sell the makeup. I've always said that was bullshit. I also don't buy Paul putting down some of that stuff. He was there. He sang his heart out. He worked hard on it. Is Paul entitled to his opinion? Of course, but to reduce an era to nothing, I don't buy it. We persevered and would have made it out to the other side given a chance. It wasn't grunge that killed the era. It was the reunion tour. Oh,
wow. That was a good
Finally.
I am absolutely all for Bruce keeping alive the era in which I became a fan. I am 100% in agreement that the reunion tour killed all prospect of there ever being going back to what happened before, regardless of where it was at. But let's talk about raw numbers of touring, because someone asked a question about attendance records, and I crunched the numbers from my documentation, which is more up to date than Kiss Alive Forever, having had many more years to compile it. Creatures of the Night averaged, and this is North America only, 5,300 a night. Lick It Up, only 5,000 a night. Animalize, 6,200. Asylum, 6,200. Crazy Nights, 5,900. I'm going to call it 6,000. It's closer. Hot in the Shade, 7,100 a night. And Revenge, 5,200. So let's compare that with... I got to scroll forward to see if I did a live worldwide. No, I didn't, but it was still pretty damn good. I only did Unmasked was 11,000. Dynasty was 10,000. Alive 2, 14,000 a night. And that was Super Kiss. So
Super Kiss.
I will never say anything against the music. I will not say anything against Paul trying. Paul continued to try. But it was always a matter of jumping on the wrong bandwagon and not jumping on it in the right way. When you look at Crazy Nights trying to be a clone of a Def Leppard album, or, trying to be Pyromania or Slippery When Wet with just wall-to-wall hits, and the material just wasn't there. Or it would have been a hit. I mean, it also had their name against it as well. Come on, it was Kiss. They weren't the new guys. They weren't the cool guys at that point.
Dinosaurs.
They were dinosaurs. Absolutely.
Hot
in the Shade was trying to be Cinderella, and Guns N' Roses, taking off all that shine with the next, what was Appetite for Discussion? Real rock, no flash. Just attitude.
Back to basics.
They polish off all the shine and just do demos. Oh, that'll be rough. Mark, sorry.
Well, that's the thing. Back when Kiss was, in their heyday with the makeup, I mean, there was not a lot of bands, if any, that were doing the makeup. I mean, I think the last person that was doing it technically was Alice Cooper and stuff like that, right? But so they kind of stood out for that reason, and then people heard about these fantastic concerts, so there was big attendance numbers for their shows, right? Then they take the makeup off, and now all of a sudden they're having to compete with a much larger group of bands. I mean, back then when they were in the makeup, there was not many other makeup bands they could compete with. It was pretty much them that did that whole kind of thing. Now they're in this big pool with all the Bon Jovis, Cinderellas, Def Leppards, all this stuff. And like you said, bad timing a lot of times. If they would have released some of these records maybe half a year earlier, maybe they would have did better. And I have to tip my hat though to Bruce. Him being my favorite Kiss guy. It's about time he's finally starting to open his mouth and say how he actually feels about this, because it's true. I think that era of the band was phenomenal. And then I even like some of their versions of the older material much better with that lineup than I did with the original people. I mean, you can throw tomatoes all you want at me for saying that, but I like some of them doing Parasite with Bruce and Eric Singer better than I like the versions that they did with Ace. I found Ace is a little sloppy with it, when he plays it. So I like the later version of the band better, to be honest with you, that did that. So I'm all for that band, and I think he's right. They were very good. They could have did a lot better if they just stuck with their guns a bit more. But money wins in the end, and the reunion tour was going to win out no matter what, and that's that.
Lack of money in the case of Kiss, late 80s. Yeah. I mean, that was probably their biggest issue, was a lack of money, too much cash flow, caviar dreams, and Cadillac dreams.
Yes.
and a Burger King budget. Ken?
Yeah, like you said, the mighty dollar rules. And that was the demise of Kiss, at least that version of Kiss. And yeah, it was a great band with Bruce, especially, and I'm not knocking Eric Carr, but when Eric Singer, he brought some new life into the band. And yeah, that band in the 90s was pretty darn, they were great. But yeah, did I want to see it go away? No, I was thinking what would happen is they would do the reunion thing and maybe a couple of years and that sort of thing, and then maybe the old band would get back together, the prior version, but it didn't work out that way. They tried to milk the version that they had, or the classic version, as long as they could, of course, until that and first farewell tour. And then Ace leaving, Peter leaving, all that stuff. So yeah, it's too bad. It would have been nice then to give it a shot, maybe even in the mid 2000s when there was kind of dead period. They could have actually thought about trying something like that. I would have been all for it, but it unfortunately didn't happen. And another unfortunate piece about all this is, like you said, they forget about that period of time, especially at the last concert in New York. Those last two shows, they just totally disregarded, that Bruce and so on. So I don't know.
But you know what? Honestly, Ken, there's one other thing I think that people might not realize, and maybe this isn't a factor, but I think it is that when you're in a band that's was used to playing big venues, arenas and stuff like that. Then you go into the 80s and you have to start dropping down to, theaters and large halls and stuff like that. You're aching for that big arena again to play in. They had the opportunity to play huge places, when they did the reunion tour, right? And also when they did the Psycho Circus thing, they were still, at least here, they were playing big places here still. They played the Sky Dome again when they played with the Psycho Circus here in Toronto. And, I think the big problem with those guys, like Paul and them especially, are that if they did have that dead time in the 2000s, and if somebody offered them to do, get back in the non-makeup and do the things, I think that they didn't want to go back into the small club thing again. Once they've gotten so used to doing the big thing, it's either the big thing or nothing now. They don't want to drop down and be looked at as the guys playing theaters again and clubs again. I think that they were very much all about the big arenas and the big sheds now, and that's where they wanted to keep it. And the only way they thought they can do that is by keeping the makeup on.
Well, they were playing arenas in the mid '80s to the end of, I mean, that's where I saw them. Even though, yes, they weren't.
But they were
full.
half full, right?
They weren't full, and they had to have
they were
maybe
usually end stage or half house format. So
yeah. So that's the thing there. They just didn't have the full crowd
Lick
and
It Up
the full
tour. They
amount
were
of
back
money
at
coming in.
like in back in the Stanley Theater and the Tower Theater where they
Berkeley
played in
Community
'75.
Theater. Berkeley
Yeah, I mean,
Community.
they're supposed to play the San Francisco Civic, and it gets moved a couple of days, and they still, took a bath on it. So it's tough. I mean, on the one hand, I became a fan there, so fan in '85 with Asylum, which to me is as equally valid as a hard rock album, just because that's the one that grabbed my attention at the time, and it's Bruce Kulick on guitar and Eric Carr on drums. That is my Kiss lineup that I became a fan with. So, but I'm not delusional enough to even compare that to the '70s because of the excitement that I wasn't there to experience. But when you look at the statistics and the numbers and the amounts of money involved in the '70s, it's non-existent in the '80s, and they gave it a real good run. They got there, but with Crazy Nights, they took that step backwards to the past, and almost it becomes inevitable. All that late '80s hype about the reunion happening. Paul and Gene at least putting on the makeup for the Rise to It video. The songs coming back into the set. Andrew and I did, of course, talk about Budokan '88, which was right at the time that the classic songs started coming back into the set list. It only increased on, Paul does his solo tour. And then on Hot in the Shade, even more come back into an absolutely mammoth set. But even with that being the best tour of the 1980s, even though it started in 1990, it's an outlier because it was still very patchy. But it was at least a little bit more trending towards the right direction with a big production. But that big production wasn't maintained in 1992. That was a complete dog of a tour. And it's nothing about the performance. It's nothing about the set. And in some ways, that 92 to 95 lineup played those classic hits way better than what you got out of Kiss on the Alive Worldwide tour, because they were doing stuff like Going Blind, Making Love. I'm sure they did some of these on the Alive Worldwide, but just look at those 92 to 95 sets. Foundations Forum just coming out and doing, Going Blind, all that stuff. And I refuse to blame grunge. Grunge is a convenient whipping boy for the death of a whole bunch of bands. Basically, Hollywood ate itself with a lot of second-rate bands getting signed to deals that were just garbage because all these record labels, just signed too many crappy bands, which is, kind of self-defeating. True. Yeah. All right. Let's get into some of these other topics from the board this week. The interview with Pop House's head of investment. Ken, you did some notes on this, and we don't have the Sweden Rock Magazine issue, and we don't read Swedish. I don't have scans of it yet to translate. So we're going strictly by these notes, but there's some interesting information contained within this. Ken, you want to read them and go through the bullet points, or are you going to make me do it?
No, I'll do it. And this was posted in the forum from the interview that was in, I guess, Sweden Rock Magazine, 524, about Pop House didn't buy everything Kiss. They only bought what Paul and Gene previously owned. Universal still owns the vast majority of the catalog. The exception is Sonic Boom and Monster and some live recordings, and will continue to do so. It says Pop House will partner with Universal, and Pop House has no plans to buy the Kiss catalog from Universal. So that's the main thing there. So that one, pretty much, they got most of the Kiss, well, not most of the stuff. They don't
No.
have any of the music.
We didn't get
a little
much at
bit
all.
of the music, but I think it's more about the imaging and that sort of stuff.
That
I
was
would
kind
have
of a
liked them
concerning thing.
Well, I'd like them to ask a little bit more information on that, because my understanding was pre-73, obviously predates any contracts with Casablanca, which have been grandfathered into everything that Universal owns. So when Paul was showing off his little reels of Wicked Lester acoustic, or his publishing, self demo of Firehouse and stuff, I took that to be a cock tease for the asset sale, which it clearly was. So are those assets included as well? I mean, we know about Sonic Boom was licensed to whatever, and now it's licensed to Universal, I think, for Spotify digital distribution, whatever. And Monster, of course, was licensed to Universal, and the shit re-recordings again fall under Kiss Records. So those assets themselves. But what about what about we know Wicked Lester has been bought by Casablanca, so that one's off. But what about the other Wicked Lester stuff? What about Gene's publishing tape and his pre-Kiss catalog of work, Paul's pre-Kiss catalog of work that falls outside? But presumably Uncle Joe was licensed. Sorry, Mark.
But Julie, I'm curious about where you're going with this, because, I mean, I know that you are very interested in this stuff, and I find some of this stuff interesting, like the pre stuff. But do you honestly think that some of this stuff will be interesting to the mass Kiss fans or the general Kiss fans? What do you think that they should do with this material that you're talking about, and what would be the appeal to like the sort of off the street Kiss fan?
I can't speak for off the street Kiss fans, because I'm a lunatic in my own world, Mark. I only think about my own desires and happiness, and my happiness revolves around hearing shit that I know exists.
I know, but Pop House wants to make money. That's what I'm saying. Like their whole focus is going to be how we're going to take this stuff and make money back off of it.
Okay, Pop House. How about Gene Simmons' Vault, one album at a time on vinyl? People will buy that. What about getting it up on digital? People will buy that. Yeah, it's been traded and purloined, but you got to change things up. You want to put out Sonic Boom? How about fucking fixing it so that it's actually listenable, and undoing the brick wall mastering and garbage that was done to it? Maybe remixing it, even getting someone who actually knows what they're doing to remix it and remaster it, and then put it out with new artwork. Because why pay Doré again when you can use something else to make it more interesting? Put it out on vinyl. Okay, let's fix Monster while we're at it, because that was pretty brick walled. And if you've got all that fantastic AI technology available to you now, let's tweak it. Let's fix some of those vocals a little bit more. Feed Paul Stanley into the sound banks. Work with Universal. They've got a very large library of presumably multi-tracks with nothing but Paul's voice on it from when Paul was young and healthy, and put that out. Will it be appealing to people? Well, I'm gonna probably guess it's gonna do no better than Destroyer Resurrected, which I think shifted about 7,000 units. Now, is that worth the investment? I don't do the numbers on what the return would be, but if you do it on vinyl, you're going to gouge people by nature. If you pile it into a Kiss Online sale with those things that Ken loves to cancel after the fact, they will buy it. If you do it as 500 copies of a picture disc, they will buy it. So what is selling? Look at it that way. Do I want to hear it? Yeah. Put it up on iTunes, $1.29 per track. People can pay what they want.
Yeah, I mean, and all that is valid. I mean, I think that everything that you said was a good idea with the Sonic Boom and that. I mean, unfortunately, though, with these pop mart people or pop house or whatever, Poop House, I think that they're going to be just as I said earlier, they're going to be looking at how am I going to get the most money back from this? What can I take from this band now and use and get the most amount of money back on it? I mean, one of the things that I thought that was disturbing about that first thing that Ken read was saying that the Universal still owns the vast majority of the catalog and will continue to do so. Pop House will partner with Universal and Pop House has no plans to buy the Kiss catalog from Universal. So that leaves them really fuck all to do with the music unless they beg and plead with Universal.
No,
to
they
do
have
it,
to
you know?
partner with Universal, and that is what
But
Gene and
release.
Paul have been doing. Since the KISS contract was canceled in 2012, there was a superseding contract then for the reissue of Destroy Resurrected, and I think it also tied into Monster as well. But there's been basically a release by release. You have to work all of that material that was recorded that Universal has in its vaults, and I have no idea what they have in their vaults. Don't ask me, because even if I do know, I'm not going to tell you. They still have to work together. Universal can't just go releasing whatever it wants because of contractual agreements that were made dating back to 1977. 1977 is the superseding contract, to my understanding and reading of all these things, with Casablanca and its Polygram partner, which still exists under Universal Music to this day. So that's why KISS never recorded a whole bunch of extra shit, because Casablanca would own it if it wasn't released. So they still have to work together.
Some of these other bullet points will kind of explain it more.
Okay, let's go to the next one then.
So which we're talking about. Pop House will also continue to work with Epic Rights, the company making deals for all kinds of products with the KISS name on it. Okay, so
yeah. So like the T-shirts and all that stuff and hats.
The merchandising arm who works with everyone from Def Leppard to Aerosmith, if you've seen your Facebook feeds recently, and how it's absolutely polluted with shit. Yeah.
Okay. So that's one. Says box. Now here's maybe interesting to you. Box sets and limited editions is definitely a thing in the works. A lot of the early albums have 50-year anniversaries coming up. Well, it said coming up, but one had already passed.
They've already missed a few, right?
The debut
They've
album.
Missed two so far,
and
because
Hot on Hill's going to be two. Yeah, right.
That's just going to be a picture disc and colored vinyl.
So
and a hoodie.
Those, I'm guessing, will be late to the party. Those 50th anniversary. They'll probably put out a 50th anniversary probably for the debut next year. That's me saying that. I don't know what they're going to do, but that's just my own guess. All right, next bullet point. When the Avatar show. Wait.
Let's go back for it. Yeah, go back for a second. Box sets, because Jason on the Kiss My Wax Facebook group did ask the question this week. If this is indeed in the works, what would be the box set that you wanted the most? And I said, look it up for selfish reasons. But failing that, I'll take Dynasty, Crazy Nights, or The Elder. Ken, what about you?
All the above. I mean,
it's a tie.
I'm greedy, but that was the debut, with which I hope would have all more demos of those songs, and also any other stuff that was used or done during that time period. Even Wicker Lester stuff could be included in that. That's for me. Look It Up would be a good continuation of the Creatures kind of deal. Yeah, Music from the Elder is another big one that I would really
5 CDs.
I would really love Music from the Elder redone. Put just make it what it should have been. But
that's crazy talk.
That's me. Mark,
5 CDs is crazy talk. Okay, maybe should make it 10.
Is there really that much more stuff from the Elder?
I've got 5 CDs of shit for an Elder, easy.
So hang on. I'm curious to dig down this kind of trench here we're talking about. So you have that much material of stuff revolving around the Elder. So I'm just going to guess. You obviously you don't have to say yes or no because you don't want to give it away or whatever. But obviously it might be some sort of extra orchestra stuff, extra actors talking parts and stuff like that are probably available to you because you have like a reel of it or something. But I mean, again, I think us KISS fans will probably be interested in hearing this, but I find it interesting that there's so much stuff that's available there, but yet there's so little stuff on the actual album. I mean, it would have been great to hear some of this stuff on the actual album. I know there's probably millions of reasons why there wasn't on there, but I find it mind-blowing that there could be 10 discs worth of stuff to have an elder box.
I don't know if they could be 10. I'm just messing with you on that, but certainly 5 is what I've penciled out in terms of, this could be, Julian's dream, but I could do a 5 CD easy for Crazy Nights. I could do 3 CDs for Asylum Mark. We could do 3 CD set for Animalize easy. Lick It
Asylum
Up
is my pick.
Lick It Up
There
could
you
be
go.
identical in terms of format to Creatures of the Night. And I don't even know what they've got in the vaults on multi-tracks.
Mhm.
I didn't know about the I Still Love You or the Extended War Machine or that. I had no clue. That was all a surprise to me.
See, what I want to go with the Asylum one, mainly because, like I said, it's one of my favorite records. It's one of my early records that I got into from Kiss. And, sure, my version of it could be ridiculous if you think about it. But I do remember Tommy Thayer saying that there are stuff that, there are decent soundboards apparently of Asylum stuff. You could have that on there. There's video stuff of it. Why not do a Blu-ray disc? I mean, lots of things. I just got a David Bowie box just recently. Has all kinds of shit. CDs, Blu-rays, all kinds of things that you can do. But Kiss rarely do Blu-rays for some reason. And the other thing too, and this is totally something that I would probably only enjoy, but try to get the rights to get that Bruce Kulick instructional guitar video and get that on Blu-ray. That thing was fantastic. The Bruce Kulick guitar video, and they showed all his licks from Asylum.
It's on DVD.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that'd be great if they could put that, clean it up, put it on Blu-ray along with the other stuff, some shows and stuff. That'd make an awesome Asylum box set.
Yeah, so Dynasty has been talked about, one of the kind of demos people haven't heard, but easily, that could be 5 CDs or more. But again, the biggest problem with a lot of things is who is the approver for material, or who gets power of red line of edit that out. Don't allow that demo to be heard in that form, or when they have the multi-tracks to be taking out a rough guide vocal, or changing stuff because someone doesn't want certain part heard, or because they're afraid if a particular player's track is included that it may cause problems, or they don't want to give that person air. Editing out a solo from live. Who has that approval? That changes the dynamic of any product. And I'm just spitballing. I'm not going to confirm or deny the existence of any Asylum soundboards, Mark. Again, I, in many cases, don't know. I know what I know, and I don't really talk about what I know in specifics because I don't want to tease anyone or lead to false expectations and some things I've heard of and not heard or not seen. So again, I don't want people to know what that line is, because people get so fucking upset over this topic that Ken just sits there with his arms going, well, none of this shit's real. Can we get back to the topic?
Well, just one additional thing is they had to wait for Kiss's approval a lot of times, and now there may be, Paul and Gene still need to approve things, certain things. I'm gonna say maybe still have some kind of approval, which may take longer than it would have taken.
This is exactly what I was going to say.
I was hoping the floodgates would open, but
no, because it's not going to. Because now that there's more people in the circle now, Pop Mart, Universal has to talk to them and this and that, and now you have to have Bruce. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul and Gene involved. It's going to take forever. Andrew made a good point about Black Sabbath. It's just Tony Iommi at the helm. He says yes or no, and that's the end of it. And look at Rush. When they got rid of their stuff and they sold it to Rounder, I think it was, or Rounder Records or something, they just sent everything off, said bye-bye, it's all yours, do what you want with it. And why do we get boxes from them more frequently? Because they don't have to go over there and say, excuse me, Mr. Lifeson, is it okay if we take the... He's probably like, I don't give a shit. You guys own it now. Do what you want with it. They don't have to go and knock and ask for approval. This is the whole problem with the Kiss thing. Everybody wants to finally say, no, I want to have the last. No, I want to have the last say. It's going to take fucking forever for this stuff to come out. Just give it to one person.
They've gotten too used to writing their own history. And that
don't sell your stuff then. Yeah.
Well, again, if Pop House has made a deal where Gene and Paul can still be a blocker to, them making their money back, it's going to be a very difficult relationship, one where they're walking on eggs, which is horrendous. And who was it that it was Andrew? Yeah, an Unmasked box set. That again, all of these fucking albums would make great super deluxes. It's Kiss. The music is awesome. The creative process is amazing. The live shit is fantastic. It could all be great, but it costs money and it requires approval.
The longer they wait, the less money they're going to make in the end, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're dying off.
People are leaving.
Yeah. Sick of hearing about fans dying.
All right, here's the last few bullet points. One, when the Avatar show is done, it has to be in a building especially built for the show.
Bullshit.
Such as ABBA Voyage has been done in London. You cannot take that kind of show into an existing arena. Now, they haven't figured out how to do that into an existing arena yet. Maybe
no one's going to build a building for a Kiss show
in Vegas because they wanted the talk was Vegas, that it would be in Vegas.
No one's going to build a building in Vegas for Kiss.
It's
going to be a multi-use. They're going to have to sign up some more avatars.
For the Beatles, maybe, but not if they do the a Beatles avatar thing. They would probably build it. But
even the Beatles don't have an avatar thing.
I know they don't. I'm saying if they did, it would probably sell out.
Yeah.
All right. Next one, Poop House is going to present the Kiss heritage.
Pop House. Remember, Pop House are our friends. They are the holders of the keys to the Kiss kingdom now. Or at least they hold the door open.
I call them Pop House when I see some evidence of something coming out. Okay, Pop House is going to present the Kiss heritage in the best possible way for the next 100 years.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I won't be alive then, so I don't care. How about in the next decade, where I at least stand a chance of seeing it? Super Zapper. It's a mess. And this goes back to what Mark was saying about some of the bands. I've never seen such a bunch of malarkey surround one band's back catalog. I'll say this, Van Halen.
Well, that's another one.
You want to talk about malarkey and mess? That is one band with a back catalog from hell.
Yeah, because it's all the managers and the problems with that stuff too, right?
And Alex.
Yeah, Alex.
Yep.
So, all right. 2027 isn't a date set in stone for the Avatar show. It might arrive faster. We will do it as fast as possible, but we will do plenty of other things before that. When they say plenty of other things before that, that sounds like other ventures to me, like maybe cartoons or something. I don't know what it might be actually. Something else.
Can I make a suggestion? Don't
maybe
rush.
Maybe that's the box sets.
Pop House, don't rush it, because we saw already what happened when you rushed the initial unveiling of it. People weren't too happy with that. Take your time, do it good, make it so that when people see it, they're like, wow, this is really worth the wait. I'd rather wait a little longer and have it impressive than we're hurrying up just to make everybody happy.
They should have been ready to hit the ground running, Mark. Announce the avatars however they want, but they should have had shit ready to roll to transition. Yeah. And there should have been an announcement, in my opinion. There shouldn't have been announcements of either the next box to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the debut. They should have been ready to hit the ground with off the soundboards, or at least to continue with anything that Universal had in queue in various whatever stages, because we've heard other people talk about that. Again, they should have been ready with a transition plan. But it sounds like that they've actually spent most of 2024 working out the relationship and doing all of the stuff that I would have thought needed to happen before they handed over any goddamn money. But again, I don't have any information on the Pop House side. I would love to know what Pop House's plans actually are. I'd love to, contribute knowledge and ideas to their going forward, but maybe they want to start fresh. Maybe they want to build their whole new team and, start building an experience base from a new perspective. I don't know. I don't care. I just wish that the optics of the whole situation were a little bit more celebratory for this band that has all these 50th anniversaries coming and going. Because talk is cheap when you talk about 2025, 2027, maybe sooner. Fuck that. I'm hungry now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. But that's just the point. And Ken said it earlier too. The longer you wait with this stuff, the less Kiss fans you're going to have to impress with this, because there are some younger people that are fans of it, but not the numbers aren't there compared to the old diehards,
Mm-hmm.
Every one of these special reissues, and I don't blame Universal and Kiss or whomever to be continuing with the anniversary picture disc products, but some of the products are getting pretty crappy. So the mood in the fan community is getting really negative, fighting over those 500 picture discs that immediately seem to end up on eBay, and just be getting multiple copies bought by people who think they're going to fund their retirement by keeping one, selling the other 3 to pay for a vacation or their kids' education fund or whatever, and leaving the doors closed to a lot of fans who are either sleeping or didn't have the insider announcement that something was going to become available at 6 a.m. or 9 a.m. that sold out in 15 minutes. That is just pissing off your customers with super low numbers, and then you see them popping up on other Kiss official sites. Oh, it's like, where did those fucking copies come from? It's just the optics really suck on those. If that's all that's happening, you're just pissing off your customers. You're not giving well thought out merchandise. It's just like the same stuff over and over. It's like Groundhog Day of mediocrity.
Yeah.
Sorry, who's allowing me to rant so much today?
Why
Guys,
don't they
put me on mute?
The deal is with these 500, these 500, it's like, if they're selling out in 15 minutes, don't they get have a clue that, oh wait, we could probably sell 1,000 then or more or whatever, and still sell out, in an hour, easy. The other thing is, people are, selling them on eBay, buying 4 at a time. I think, again, and we talked about this before, have it where you can always buy 1 at a time. Sure, go back in the store again, buy 1 again, but that still leaves more
separate
time.
Shipping for each item on the vinyl order.
Yeah, there are, like you said, there are ways to do it.
Yeah.
No, that would be unfair for people who do bundle, because I know in some of these cases, like with Ken, remember those German issues that Killers? I grabbed 2 of those, 1 for you, 1 for me.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So we've done it. We've bundled.
Okay, so make it a smaller number, 2.
Yeah,
instead of 4.
Again, it's a no-win situation of how to be fair and how to be, how to keep. You can't keep people honest and be fair.
Well, I they make you buy the the sweatshirt with the thing, or the t-shirt with it, or whatever with the vinyl. But you can go back, contact them.
It's just a pain in the ass
you don't
to
want
do that.
I know. But you can go back and send them an email and say, hey, remove, which I did. I said, remove that tan that tan hoodie for Hot in the Shade from my order. It's like, it was like almost, it was $63 without tax. And I didn't like it anyway. So I just said, take that off my order. They did. And then did a credit. So I'm just going to get the vinyl on that.
But why did this crap start? There was a time that they didn't do that. They just had the vinyl.
Was the most recent.
Oh yeah, I got it on that order, and I canceled mine a few hours later. I was like, I don't want this. What the hell am I doing? I'm suckling on the teat of fear of missing out. Mark, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying that I long for the days when they announced this stuff and they had those bundles, but they also had their just a separate color vinyl
buy
if you wanted to
separately.
buy. Yeah, and I jumped on those all the time. And I know, like I said before, I'm a big T-shirt guy, so you have my loyalty with the T-shirts anyways. I'll just buy the ones that I like, not be forced into having to buy some shit one that you have extra bunches of that other people don't want. It just seems that they're putting these ridiculous things with them that people have to pay extra for that they don't want. I mean, I know you can say that, just go there and cancel it, but most people don't want to go and do all that extra horse shit for that, and they know that. That's why they're probably bundling it like that.
Yeah. Well, there we are. And Brent was saying, as an Aussie, they're asleep when most of these go live. Yeah. And, right now it's 10 a.m. in, Sydney. Sorry, West Coast of Australia. I don't know what time it is there. So the time zones are always convenient for the American and Europeans, and you gotta mix it up a bit and not allow insiders, to know when these are going to drop, because that gives people, leaves people out, and again sours everyone. But there we are. That's enough of a rant. I think we got to wrap this one up. I hear another phone call going on here. So we've had an hour of ranting.
Just an hour.
Yep. So that's it. Give us your thoughts wherever you're listening to this. What do you think about the topics that we've covered today? And we shall see you again soon.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.